for our hearing. Following the hearing, we will have our regular city council meeting, and you're all invited to attend. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I would like you please to stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Just stand up, please.
Dear Father, we come now and say thank you, God, for this day. We pray, God, that you will give us a sound mind to make good decisions for the city of Milner. We pray, God, that we'll keep all our citizens in mind when we make decisions. We give your name all praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Oh,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated, please. Council, if you will look over our agenda for our public hearing tonight, please. Let me know if you approve, if I could have a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. For our public hearing, rezoning application 2301, AR to C2, parcel M09054. I have a for and against list.
Let them speak first.
Okay, thank you, Lee. But to start with, when we say before and against list here, please, we are gonna allow our visitors, and Mr. Galloway will be speaking now.
Thank you. Can I move this closer?
Yes.
And please make sure you project, I want to hear you.
Okay. Okay, folks. My stuff out. Madam Mayor, Councilman, my name is Newton Galloway and I represent Rudy Vaughn, who by the size of the crowd has obviously attracted a lot of attention tonight. So let's talk about his application. Accompanying me tonight, obviously everyone in this room knows Rudy. I'm accompanied by my law clerk, who's making his first appearance in a public hearing, Hunter Wallace, third year's law student at Mercer, and our paralegal, Gerard Lozano. With the mayor's permission, I would like to ask Hunter to identify the property. We have photos of the exterior, and Rudy, if you would also get up your photos of the inside of the building. And if possible, Madam Mayor, if he could approach y'all to hand out the handouts that we've got here, very short.
That's going to be my next question. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So if I may approach to hand out what we prepared tonight.
It's not flat.
All right, good evening. My name is Hunter Wallace, as Mr. Galloway introduced me as. In my third year of law school at Mercer down in Macon, and I've been working for Newton all of last summer and continuing through this year. We have prepared some materials here, so I'd like to walk through it and just talk about what we have presented for you today. So, if you turn to the first page, we have everyone's favorite kind of collection of public data here, QPublic. which identifies our parcel in question, that's M09054. And if you look, there's one thing to note on here, there's lots of information about the kind of assessment value, and Randolph Vaughn is our owner tonight. He is the applicant here in question. One thing that is slightly different though, the acre is identified on the page as 95.4. The parcel that we are talking about tonight is actually 39.3 acres. But if you turn to the next page, we have some pictures of the property. I was asked to present on this because I was actually the one who took these pictures. I took them with my iPhone and had a lot of, digital, structuring to get them here on our pages tonight. But going through the pictures here from left to right, the first 4 are of the main building. It's approximately 73 feet by 100 feet. And you can see it from a couple different angles. The next 2 pictures are 2 shelters as they're identified on the plat. 15 by 30 foot on both of them, and they are to the east and west of the main building, respectively. The last couple pictures on our final page is, once again, the final shelter. It's 30 feet by 40 feet, and it has a dock, or really more accurately, a water walkway that kind of extends out onto the lake. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight, and I appreciate it.
The photos here show the inside of the building, and the building is finished. There's a certificate of occupancy on it, and we did not take these, but they are available through Mr. Vaughn. Yes. All right, let's talk briefly. The proposed use, if y'all need to see it closer, we can walk in front if you'd like to see them. Let's go.
Do you need me to bring it closer? Okay.
Okay. All right. The proposed use of the building is to have an event center for receptions and functions. And the application seeks zoning to C2. This is Milner's General Commercial Retail and Service District. It's not downtown and it's not country. Like I say, Rudy wants to develop an event center, and pursuant to your zoning ordinance, section 118-285, permitted uses in C2 include any retail business or service. The event center qualifies under that section as that use. The rezoning is also supported by your joint comprehensive plan in the Milner character area. The Milner character area identifies this as being on a corridor for potential future development, commercial development, while allowing low-density rural neighborhoods to access local services. It is also supported in your comp plan as a minor highway commercial and light manufacturing use, which recognizes C1 and C2 uses being proposed. And it satisfies the goal of maintaining rural character and allowing commercial services that promote ongoing rural lifestyle. It meets the zoning criteria and it should be approved. Now, that said, this is not going to be done likely without conditions. And if I might approach, we have prepared a set of proposed conditions which would identify and limit the use of the property to use as an event center. And it is common practice for particularly for commercial property, to have conditions that limit the use and use of the property, the times of use, and restrictions on the property. What you have there, there's one error on it, and I apologize, this was my oversight. We proposed limitations on use and noise. It should say Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday separately, with a closing time or cessation of activity during the weekday at 10 and on the weekends at 11, and I apologize for that error. Yes, sir.
83, right?
Yes, sir. These are conditions that are intended to eliminate impact on the adjoining property and to be consistent with the use of the property to which Rudy wants to place it. In light of the fact that this satisfies, again, it's consistent with the comp plan and it is a use permitted in that district, we'd ask that you rezone the property to C2 with the conditions that you have there as proposals. And I would ask that those are sort of a starting position for you to look at. And then, Madam Mayor, like I say, I would like, just a short period of time to respond. We didn't realize you would have quite the crowd tonight that you have. Thank you, ma'am. If y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or we can wait till the end. Thank you.
As you did not receive this handout of conditions for consideration, I want to read over them. 1, any event conducted on the subject property shall comply with provisions relating to noise in the Milner City Code, sections 26.6 and 26.7. Any event conducted on the subject property at which the expected attendance shall exceed 75 attendees, traffic control and security will be provided. All events conducted on the subject property shall conclude, as Mr. Galloway said, by 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and at 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. No laser or spotlight of any kind will be allowed in the subject property during any event. If lighting is required to close or conclude an event conducted on the subject property, it shall be provided by existing lights on the subject property. Temporary mobile lights may be used in parking areas and to assist with entering and exiting the subject property only. All parking for an event shall be confined to the subject property with no spillover parking allowed on any other parcel. The organizer of any event conducted on the subject property shall execute an agreement governing the conduct of the event on the subject property. Tasha, how do you recommend go with for, against, or just for and then against?
Do for and then against, just go down the list, for and then move to against. and then
Thank you,
against.
all right. If we could have brief, try to hold a 2-minute comments, please. Our first signer was Mr. Bobby Brantley, if you would speak, sir.
I'm Bobby Brantley. I live on 216 Liberty Hill Road. I live directly across from Mr. Vaughn's driveway. I've watched Mr. Vaughn for the last 2.5 years to spend what I consider equity, sweat equity. He's been out there in the hottest of temperatures and the coldest of temperatures. I have no problem with the event center located where it is right now. I do have some concerns, but I'll address them at the next hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Tamika Dorset, you would speak, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tamiko Dorsett. I'm the daughter of Randolph Vaughn. And I just wanted to, I'd rather have gone after just to hear what the concerns are in the It happens. I would rather have gone to hear what the concerns are in relation to this event center. But I'm gonna go ahead and start what I wanted to address. Is everyone familiar with the telephone game? How something begins one thing, and by the time you get to the end, it's something totally different. Okay? I don't know 98% of the people in this room. And if no one has spoken to me, they really don't understand what this venue is to me and what it's about. I got 2 thoughts. This is Crimson, which is my sorority, and this is Sky. So for me, this is a labor of love, okay? The detail we play and the care that I've done, picking things out, making sure I wanted something in this community that would be something that I want. And you can rarely find this in this area. So I've taken the time, along with some help, to create a beautiful space for everybody. I try to stay to myself, but I've been hearing chatter of people, in reference to a juke joint. And if you all wanna know the definition of a juke joint, it's a small, inexpensive, this is from Merriam-Webster, a small, inexpensive establishment for eating, drinking, or dancing to music of a jukebox or a live band. This is not a juke joint. This is not inexpensive and small. I put a lot of work and time into creating this, helping him create this space. I will be operating this space. It is what it is. It's a venue, a wedding venue. Somewhere people can have family reunions, somewhere people can have anniversary parties. It's a beautiful space, and I welcome you if you wanna see it. I'm there a lot, doing, even cleaning, doing the smallest little intricate details to make this place wonderful. It's soon to be gated. We're working on a gate, so it's not something that someone can just come into. It's off the road. It's a long driveway. I have taken time to take specifically about noise. And if you haven't heard it, you won't hear it. Because I'm in there. To make sure I run around and see what decibels were, so we wouldn't intrude on somebody's enjoyment of their own property. But a lot of this stuff is subjective, and I want it to be objective. This is absolutely a labor of love for me, okay? So we're trying to improve this community. I'm trying to empower myself and my daughter. That's what that style is for. Cause I wanted to leave her a legacy before I left this earth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Peggy Dorset.
I'm not gonna speak it.
Mr. Galloway, did you?
I'll wait for them.
All right, and Mr. Michael Ford.
I support it, but my recent appointment to the Joint Planning Commission for Lamar County, I'm not gonna speak on it just so nobody can say anything, but I do support it for tax purposes.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Mr. Ryan Lewis. Mr. Ryan Lewis. This is the opposition. Okay, all right. Ms. Holly Lewis. Okay. All right. Pardon me if I pronounce this incorrectly. Mr. Joey Reichert.
I do have concerns, and, I really don't know, I mean, I have questions too. I hear you talk about a building back there and stuff. Is the building something that's been in existence? I don't know.
No.
I mean, when it was approved to be built, was it approved for barn or what? I don't know. If we change it to commercial, who's to say what's coming 3 years down the road? We're gonna have 50 apartment buildings back there. It's commercial, you're not gonna find it. Are our roads able to handle it? No. I know we need tax money, it's obvious, I pay taxes. But there are just concerns. I really would like to know what will happen. I can't predict the future, but there are concerns. Everybody has concerns.
Thank you. Ms. Tara Reichert.
I don't wish to speak.
Thank you, all right. Mr. Alan Johnson,
I don't wish to speak.
Ms. Jessica Johnson,
No, no.
Mr. Irwin Bryan,
We own the property right across the road, pretty much across the property there, 186 Liberty Hill. My biggest concern is, she said, the noise is gonna be, at a level. What I'm basing my decision and everything on, I own property on High Falls Park Road, and they've had events down there where I live 4.3 miles away, and I can hear the music in my basement. So, I don't know how muffled the music is gonna be. I don't have a problem with a business or whatever, and again, like this guy said back here, later on down the road, I don't know what it's gonna turn into. This is a small community. I've practiced raised here since I was in the 3rd grade, and I don't know about the roads, how they're gonna handle it as well, but that, the noise is what I'm mainly here for. It's gonna be, and later on, it's gonna be an issue. I know down the road from my house, they got a decibel meter, and, they say it meets the needs, and they say it's supposed to have it down by 9 o'clock. Well, of course, they run it in overtime, and most time it's on the weekends or holidays. So what are you doing in the summertime on the weekend or holiday? You're grilling out in the yard, and, most of that was Mexican music, but, whatever it is, it's noise. So,
thank you. Ms. Benita McBroom,
I second everything Alvin just said.
thank you. All right. Ms. Maxine Gibson,
Good evening, everybody. I know a lot of people, but my name is Maxine Gibson. I live at 220 Liberty Hill Street, directly across from the, well, it's not a venue, that's not a venue, but next to Bobby Brantley where the road is. I can truthfully say they have fixed it up. It is absolutely beautiful. I have never heard anything going on back there. But I have concerns about the noise, and just until a little while ago, I thought it was all gonna be in front of my home. Now, Rudy, right? Are you Rudy?
Right.
I met you one time, you remember? You stopped and introduced yourself. And, I've heard that I know I only have 2 minutes out, that it's going to be a trailer park across the street, a place to park the horse trailers, a gas station, a place to take, wash houses where they'll take their baths and everything. You hear everything, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Rudy and let him tell us exactly what he's got in mind, and surely we have time for that. I think we need to know. He's got like I said, I understand it's absolutely beautiful in that building and everything. And of course, I want you to know, I've been an event planner too, and I live right across the street, and I cook. But that's beside the point. That's beside the point. Y'all know I stay in Florida all the time, just about. So, but anyway, I think we need to hear him, not all these other people. I'd like to hear him, Mr. Vaughn, tell us exactly what his plans are, and I would like to say step by step. Don't go any further than that, the fence, a beautiful fence there, on the left, pulling in on the left-hand side, that has to wait, back in the back, behind the trees, right? Behind the trees. That's what I have to say. I'd like to come over there and look at it. And we'd love to hear you speak.
But I have to go with, violence.
Is there any way, I'm sorry, because we're running short on time, is there anybody else that would like to speak, that wants to speak before we move on to allow him? Because we really need to. George? Yeah. I'm sorry, we can get back to him, if we can move it and get
That's
to.
all right. No,
Sorry.
I just said what I wanted to say.
Who's recognized?
Mayor?
yes. Yeah.
We got this many people here, and this is just me, and if we need to move it, I'll make it in form of motion. But we got this many people here, I don't care if we start the council meeting at 7 o'clock. I wanna hear what this many people got to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's a pro person that comes up late, you know, if you've already spoke, that's one thing, but there's a pro person that comes up late, and they wanna get in on this, I think they need to speak too. I mean, that's why we have hearings.
Right, I just wanna make sure, cause he is gonna speak again at the end, so.
Is he gonna speak at the end, or you gonna
Yes,
speak at the?
they're gonna have another, that's why I was,
We asked for
before we
just
brought him up,
short amount
we
of
know
time.
at the end.
That's fine, that's how we do it, but we don't get that many folks in here, if somebody's in here, they don't want to hear. That's my 2 cents.
All right, okay, thank you for registering. I'm going to go down the list, and then for anyone that did not get a chance to sign in, I'll give you an opportunity. Gary Astor, I'm not sure about this.
Laster.
Laster, thank you.
I signed that, not knowing I was signing to speak, but yes, I was here, but that's okay, I've always got something to say. I'm Gary Laster, I live on Greenwood Street up here, I've lived in Milner for 45 years. It's been a quiet, peaceful place. I'm a real estate agent since 1978. I deal with people on a regular basis that hear about Milner and they want to move here. Henry County is spilling out, places like that, people are trying to get away from the traffic, the noise, the congestion. They think Milner is just a great place, I hear on a regular basis. This property is an agricultural property there, zoned agricultural. People have moved there, built their homes there, thinking that's the way it was gonna be. I'm personally, just in case there's any question, I'm against rezoning it to commercial. Just because it will affect the quality of life for the people, it's not gonna affect me so much personally. Now, my one thought would be, if by chance you do agree to rezone it commercial, I would think there would be a way you can make it an exception. He could have a variance or an exception to where, if you're gonna allow him to have his business there, and I'm not against what he's trying to do at all, but if you're gonna allow him to do that, you could make it a variance to where it could be only one business, this event center could be approved, and he cannot come back down the road without trying to get it rezoned again. There could be a number of businesses out there. So if you're gonna approve it, I would think you should do it with a variance. But it's gonna affect a lot of people's lives that didn't know that was taking place.
She did want to speak.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the first name. Parlier. Clyde. Parlier.
I think some people were thinking that was more like a petition
Oh,
than
okay,
maybe.
fine, thank you, all right. George Weldon.
Yes, my understanding was that the zoning ordinance board was set up for the 60 acres, and now it's not that anymore. It's only 39 acres.
I have no idea.
Well, the parcel on the tax record says there's 60 acres there. And if he only wants to rezone 39 acres, I'd like to know how that attaches to a major highway. Our zoning calls for C2 commercial for main highway use only, all up and down the main corridor. It states that specifically. And I do not know of a road. The Liberty Hill is definitely not a thoroughfare, and Old Alabama is not. So I don't see where his property touches a road. So I don't know how the council can vote to allow this if it doesn't fit the zoning. I agree that zoning should add another sea level, C1. We refused to do that 20 years ago when zoning was writing, because we didn't have the need for that. All our commercial was along Main Street, and it just made sense. And our comprehensive plans up until this time said the exact same thing. Keep the rural character what's rural, and keep the highway corridor what's highway.
Which two roads did you mention, George?
Liberty Hill,
And what was the other?
Liberty Hill and Old Alabama. But the only road that he touches, unless, and that's another question, does 39 acres include the driveway all the way to Liberty Hill? Because otherwise you're gonna be crossing, even though it's his land. I don't know how your liability issues, if you're gonna have security down at the road, depending on where that 39 acres is. Something's gotta be included to include the road. So, a lot of little problems that need to be worked out. Thank you.
Shannon Parker.
That was me, but the gentleman, he said what I was gonna say.
Okay. And I'm sorry, the next to last name on the first page?
The
Last
Guadalupe?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. She's good, she won't say.
All right, thank you, all right. Okay, Jenny Britt, excuse me.
Britt, I'm not gonna speak, but I am against it.
All right, thank you. David Britt? Daniel, excuse me.
My name is David Britt. I've been living in Milner since '88. I live about a quarter of a mile down the street from the church up here. My main concerns are what's gonna happen if we zone it commercial. What other kind of licenses and businesses will be put in after that? I've heard people already complaining about the horse track down there, about the noise over in the residential area. I don't know the name of the neighborhood over there. But my main concern is what's gonna happen if you zone the land commercial. What's gonna go in after that? I think the idea is great. I don't like the location of what's going on. Concerned about the noise mainly. And, I think it's a great idea, just wrong location. That's what I got to say about it.
Thank you, sir. Regina Stevens.
I do not wish to speak.
Thank you. All right. Williams. Looks like Navy Williams.
Nancy.
Nancy, I'm sorry. Ma'am,
I don't.
thank you. All right. Rita Williams.
I'm Rita Williams, and I live at 125 Liberty Hill Street, and I've been there for 20 years. I have been down to visit Rudy's stables and all, which are beautiful, and he walked us around and showed us where he wanted to put a gazebo down by the lake and everything, and I told him then, I said, you better not put anything behind my property now, so I don't hear all the noise from anything. He said he wasn't going to. But I don't understand how you can build a commercial building for commercial use before you're ever rezoned commercial. Why would you invest the money? But furthermore, it's right behind my house, and I heard every day when they were out there building it, and I thought he was building a barn to store his hay or something. I didn't know it was an event center. But I am concerned about the noise that I might encounter from that. I'm concerned about the roads. I'm concerned about the impact on our sewage system, because from what I understand, some people are not being approved to even connect to the sewage system because of the problems with that. So those are my concerns, and I think everybody else is concerned about a lot of that too, and the wear and tear on the roads, like they said. And, I mean, it's nice for a venue and stuff like that, but I just don't want it in my backyard. Sorry, Rudy.
Thank you. Frida?
No,
Ma'am?
no comment.
Before Mr. Galloway speaks, I want to just comment that the fence that Mr. Vaughn has built along the drive going back to the event center, if you turn down that drive, it bears around to the left. So if you were at Mr. Brantley's house or Maxine Gibson's house, in front there is a really pretty little pasture with woods behind it. And if you hit by there at the right time, you'll see deer out there. The event center is behind that. But, I did hear some, when I opened the back door with my kitties, I did hear some building with the fence that was put up. I can't even remember 3 times I heard any noise from them building the actual center. But there's nothing else over there except clear land. The land behind me is an empty field with a barn, and then way farther back, there's a really nice, house, with floodlights at night. But I had not heard any noise from them either. But I just want to say that it is way back off the road and behind those trees. Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Rita
was under the impression.
Apologize, because I thought that behind my house was the event center.
No, ma'am, that's a barn.
Well, see, I thought that's what they might be building back there, but my son-in-law said, no, that's our house.
No, that's a barn, and that is not Mr. Vaughn's property.
Okay, I apologize. No problem. I thought that was.
Not behind my house.
It's unfinished, it's a house,
Yeah.
and it's not owned by, it's not his property.
Who owns that?
It is I don't know.
To the right of the fence, is that
Yeah,
Yeah, behind my house.
How do they get to it?
He-
Not
that's
come down your
not-
road and take a right or what?
he doesn't own that property.
I mean, the house is.
They have their own access, that's my understanding. I mean, I don't see them going behind my house. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify the location of the event center.
We thank you for
All right, is there, no problem. All right, is there anyone else that did not get to sign up that would like to speak? Okay, no one? All right, I'm sorry, we ran, yes, sir, would you like to speak?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you would just identify yourself. And
How you doing? I'm Lonnie Fletcher. I live at 125 Savannah Way.
Yes, sir.
And I've been in Milner for a little while, but I'm a resident of Lamar County. I just want to say, I know it's a lot of people in here, different ages and stuff. I'm more on the younger side, and I'm for it because I truly feel it'll benefit me, my friends, my family. I think it'll be something good for the community. As far as the noise, I'm in a subdivision, and it's noisy sometimes. I mean, it don't really bother me. I just go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really bother about that, but I truly feel it'll be something good for the community, and I support it. I'm for it. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Cameron Sky Dorset Flemister. I actually graduated from school down here at St. George's Episcopal School, the second graduating class. And I know some faces in here and some faces may know me. But one thing I remember about going to St. George's was there's nothing really around here. From having prom, events, we never had anything. We always had to go to the next county over. Even from outsourcing things like buses, we didn't have much here, you know? So I know I may be objective, but I just think it would be something really different and something that would bring a lot more to this area. And even not just for the school, cause I'm still a dragon, a SGS dragon, but I just think it would be something more for us and everyone here. Something for us all to have stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Holly Lewis. I live at 115 Pecan Street in one of the oldest farmhouses in Milner down the street here. And also being from one of the younger crowds in Milner, we've been here now for 6 years or so. And quite honestly, as far as you're speaking about events, and I understand being younger and wanting more things to come to Milner, I have young children. But my understanding of an event center as well is my mother is a wedding coordinator. So what kind of events are we looking at here? I know that as a country girl, I would like to keep Milner country. That's our goal, that's why we're raising our children here. We'd like to keep it small. That's why we have Henry County, and we have Pike County growing quite a bit, and we want, we need the tax money, that's correct. We've heard a lot, and, but being from that younger crowd, that's why we moved here to raise our children in the country, and we really like to keep it that way as much as we can. So that's kind of my statement, that we love Milner, and know many others that would like to move here as well, and it is growing, but I would like to keep the growth in good ways as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gloria Fallon, a lifelong resident of Milner. Fallon's family grew up right across the street here. Took some of the dirt from there to build this building. I've heard you say that been here, moved here 45 years ago, but I've been here all my life. Now, what if I had said we wanted to keep Milner just as Milner was? Most of you wouldn't have been here. What if I had said, as a resident of Milner, let's make sure we have houses that are 1,800 square foot in Milner? A whole lot of us wouldn't be here. What if I had said that I didn't want in Milner some of the things that are happening now for our children? Basketball court over there. Something for us to do in Milner. Instead of us gossiping about on the telephone about what's happening with our community, let's talk to Rudy. Let's find out what's gonna go on the property. If he plans to put something else, or is it, I've been to the event center. I was there when he had something for his family. Went outside to the gazebo by the pond, couldn't hear sound of the music. Couldn't hear anything. So what I'm saying is, let's be fair to everybody in Milner. Let's be fair to, and bring some things in here for our children, our children's children, and let us grow in Milner. Yeah, we're gonna keep it country. We'll never be a McDonough. We're not gonna even grow as Zebulon has. We're gonna stay the little country city town that we are. But let's give people an opportunity to see what Milner can be in the future. Thank you.
Because if you take, one thing's gonna lead to another, and Milner's been in the country as long as it's been. I'm 65 years old.
Hang on.
No, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
There has to be some kind of order to this, and while I want everybody to be able to speak, once you've spoken, that is it. I'm sorry.
My bad. I apologize for that. We need to keep Milner country.
What-
One thing leads to another.
Sir, please, I'm sorry.
I'd like to say something.
Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brandon Bird. Several properties here in Milner. What I'm noticing about everything, we're worried about Milner not being country anymore, being overpopulated. But then again, we can still have an event center we can still keep the country. My concern is the infrastructure with the event center. As once previously stated, the roads, sewer, even as far as power and everything else, and how it can affect the rest of the community. My thing is, with the law enforcement background, how will the city more so benefit from it to make sure that we can keep it where we all want it? Have we thought about it that far? You know what I'm saying? So as it relates to, say it is an event center, if we start to put, if there are ordinances in place where if it's a crowd over 25, Chief, how many personnel do you have personnel working overnight, or do we have to have assistance from the county?
That's right.
How much would that pull away from? And how can, it won't be the burden of the city, but put it back on Mr. Bond? Also, I think things were out of order as it relates to how it was originally zoned, and so that's why a lot of people are upset. Because if we would've did it the right way the first time, we all wouldn't be here tonight. So truth be told, I missed a couple meetings, but I ain't never seen the crowd this big either. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta hold ourselves accountable in that aspect as well. Like, if you know what you wanna do and you see the vision, put a plan together, then come before. Let's try to make it all work together. We shouldn't fight against each other. Let's come together, try to work it out, and we can move forward. As it relates to doing it, I think if you all do approve it, to change it over, I think it definitely needs to be a sit down where we have some things in place so this doesn't happen again. So if someone wants to build an event center and it's not zoned properly, what we're gonna have in place to prevent this from happening again? Or say you do allow it, what regulations we're gonna put in place? So I think that's the main issue, not necessarily of, I can promise you one event center will not turn into a level. And the reason how I know, I don't work all around the state, from I-59, some of y'all don't probably know where that is, all the way down to Valdosta, Georgia. All right, one event center won't kill it, but at the same time, let's think it all the way through. We'll get everything from tonight. Let's think this all the way through and how it could benefit both sides, and let's make sure we don't go this way again.
Thank
You correct me if I'm wrong here, Tasha, okay? But you said something that made me think, as I've heard a couple people kind of allude to it. When this thing started, he asked for a permit, for a building permit for a structure.
The
And,
whole barn, to be exact.
but it was not it was not, an event center, I don't think got brought up to the city until after the construction of the property. So we did not, it wasn't, hey, we're gonna build an event center, give me a permit, and then we'll rezone it. It was, I'm gonna build a structure. And the structure, once it was built, was that, hey, we want this to be rezoned for an event center. So the city did not approve this in advance, so it wasn't a cart before the horse thing, okay? So, I just think it's important for everybody to realize.
Anyone else?
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to kind of follow up on what you said. My wife's also an event planner. She's worked quite a few wedding venues, and most all of them are rural. As I understand this, we've been told this was built for weddings and family parties, things like that, which I think there's some issues that people have with noise and traffic, things like that, but I don't think that's the main issue. An event center has a lot of benefits to the community, as a lot of people have expressed. But I think an event center can fall under the description, under the zoning for agriculture like it is now, as opposed to commercial. It appears to me that perhaps there's a long-term plan where the event center is just the beginning, and I'm concerned, like I think a lot of people are, is to, if we rezone it for commercial, all the other things, the Pandora's box that this could open to commercial development. Whereas the event center on agricultural land, fine, I think you can do that right now, as far as I know. So,
Is that
I
correct?
don't see a problem, I don't see a problem with that. I see a problem with what the long-term plan is. Or we could approve
This
it.
is, we're gonna have to discuss this later on. This is a public hearing to hear public comments from the public. We will be able to discuss this later on, but at this point, because of course we need Monica's, you know,
So we'll
her
address that,
guidance on
we'll
it,
address that in
so,
the actual
yes.
council meeting.
Yes, and when we discuss
So y'all don't go
this.
anywhere.
But we've gotta get to that
Yeah.
and get through this before we can have that discussion.
Sure.
I want to hear what you have to say. All right, anyone else?
I just got a follow-up question, kind of, just a follow-up, I don't know if I can, but it's basically in reference to taxes. So how would this affect our taxes as it relates to the event center, the changing of the zoning, or you can't answer?
No, it won't, I mean, as far as y'all said, what the taxes that would be, I mean, and again, this is just a public hearing, so
Okay.
kind of
I'll be
getting
addressing
outside
that in
the
a little
scope.
while.
But it's gonna be the, whatever burden it creates on infrastructure, and if the taxpayers have to make up that difference. But again, public hearing, let's get this, and then we can have further discussion in the council.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Galloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rudy, come on. Anytime you have a large public turnout on an issue, there are always questions that are raised, so I asked for a short period of time to just address the questions that were raised. And, Councilman Selstad, let me start with yours. As I read the ordinance, AR does not allow an event center. And as I understand it, Mr. Vaughn, in terms of the zoning part of it, worked with the city and was asked to go to C2, which allows it as a retail or other public service, okay? Now, having drafted these ordinances before, I agree with you completely. And most event centers are located in rural areas of this nature, are located in rural areas. Wedding venues with barns, other events and so forth are common there, and they're usually handled by means of what's called a special exception or special use permit. Okay? So, your ordinance, however, does not, in my view, allow it in AR, and I think the direction given to Mr. Vaughn, or the suggestion to Mr. Vaughn, was accurate. Let's talk about as a result, and that segues into the question about the commercial use of the property. Recognizing that C2 is a broad category, that's the reason you propose conditions that say limit it to the event center, and with the conditions that the mayor read. Now, the reason you do that is because if it's given a condition, that condition is treated as if it is part of the zoning ordinance itself, which means that if somebody chose to change that, they have to come back to you for approval. And while that's not as good as having a special exception in AR, it gives this council the ability to say yes or no going forward to any change. Okay? Now, on Mr. Laster, as I read your plan, your comp plan would allow this, or let me rephrase that. The comp plan, which is not a zoning action, would allow this as consistent with your comp plan findings. And if you look at your comp plan, and I'm referring now to the joint comp plan between Lamar County and the cities in Lamar County, you all are in the Milner character area in that comp plan, which proposes corridors offer future, and I'm reading this directly from the plan, corridors offer future commercial development while allowing low-density rural neighborhoods access to local services. So as I read it, and then for minor highway commercial and light manufacturing is an acceptable land use category, and it references C1, C2, and M1 as appropriate zoning classes. So the plan, as I read it, now I've worked with the Lamar County plan several times, and you can read the Lamar County plan a lot of different ways, but I cannot tell you that this is contrary to what the Lamar County comp plan says. To address George, there's nothing in the zoning ordinance that I see that says C2 requires it to be on a thoroughfare. And George and I worked on zoning for years. There may be something in a transportation plan or something of which I'm not aware, but that is that's my understanding from what the zoning ordinance says. Now, Skip, with regard to yours, I'm sorry, Councilman Sadis.
That's fine.
Excuse me. With regard to approval in advance, I'm gonna say something that Rudy doesn't want me to say probably.
Hit it.
What you said is probably the best way it should have been done. That didn't prevent him from getting a building permit, but I will tell you, we've had that discussion as well. And
It wasn't illegal.
and it wasn't illegal, it wasn't in violation of a code, but ultimately, because this would require either special exception if you stayed in AR or C2, the better policy would have been to come here and ask for that at the beginning.
Well,
Now,
and I didn't say that hostily.
I didn't
said
take it.
merely for clarification.
Well, that ain't the way it happened.
I didn't tell you. Now, I will say this though, and there's one thing I want to walk through with Rudy here. When the building permit was applied for, the designated use on the property was wedding venue,
That is been approved.
okay?
I have the application. We actually double checked it. I don't have it with me, but at City Hall, I can show that that first permit issued for that property was not for a wedding venue.
Well, let me, Tasha, let's follow up with that. Let me also tell you what the law is on this. You cannot change zoning by putting a use on a building permit. Okay? So the fact that it might have said wedding venue on either the first iteration or Tasha, even a second iteration, cannot change what the zoning is. Okay? But the material that I've been given says wedding venue. Now, I go back to what we were just talking about, Skip. The better policy would have been get the thing approved, make it clear what your permit was for.
That's right.
There was nothing illegal about the permit being issued, but a lot of the opposition that has been raised tonight could have been avoided. For that.
Well,
Now,
my point in saying that was, Milner gets a bad rap a lot of times about dropping the ball and how things go.
Well, see, that ain't the way it happened. Even though that ain't the way it happened, no, it ain't gonna go out that way.
now, let me, now, I've worked with Rudy back when I was representing Milner, when he did the restaurant. Right up there across from the main part of downtown. Rudy builds decent stuff, And as a general rule, it has been an asset to this community. And, now Rudy can be frustrating. All right? Rudy can be frustrating, and he's gonna get mad with me. But the stuff he's done in Milner, and the stuff he's done to build and construct in Milner has historically been good, and the city has at various times loved him, and at other times the city has not loved him. All right? But when you go to this property, putting the other issues aside, the bottom line to this is he has built a nice facility. And he has built a facility that is appropriate for that use. And while I might have my own personal issues with how it developed, it is, as far as I can tell, consistent with your comp plan. And Mr. Selstead, like I say, I would rather see it in AR as a special exception, but that's what we got. And I hope you all will understand that I'm being direct and candid with regard to what zoning policy, probably best zoning policy should be for dealing with it. And I wish we had an AR category special exception that allowed the use. All right. But again, this is a nice facility. It is with the conditions that are imposed. If he violates those conditions of the operation of the center, that constitutes a zoning violation. And it is enforceable as such. But it is ultimately, having driven by there, having seen the facility, I have not had the chance to go in and see the inside. It is ultimately a very well done piece of property and improvement. Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk at the end, because I know y'all will be talking and public discussion is gonna be limited, but it was appropriate, I think, to allow us a brief period of time to address, to address questions that were raised. And to the folks who said, have Rudy talk to them, Rudy's available right now to talk to whoever would like to. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway.
Okay, anybody got any questions?
Yeah.
Let's do it out of the meeting. Let's do it out of the meeting so y'all can go ahead and get started.
What are your plans for future development?
Y'all please talk.
It's your thing. Do you wanna talk or not? Yeah, I wanna
After the
talk.
meeting.
You want me to talk now? It's up to you. I wanna talk now.
You control this meeting, Mayor.
Future
You just
development.
do remember that the mayor does control the meeting. So just let the mayor acknowledge and give that right.
Let me put it into this meeting, and then for anyone that would like to
Well, wait a minute
talk to
now.
Mr.
Wait a minute
Vaughn,
now.
I will set that up.
If he's the one being affected, and he wants to speak, and we let everybody else speak in the meeting, I think it is wrong to stifle him. Now, if he does not want to speak, and he wants to speak individually, that's one thing. But I think he's got the right to speak just like everybody else.
I do agree with you.
Okay, Mayor, all I'm saying is that you run the meeting,
But-
you're the one that has to allow.
Right.
All I'm saying is you just,
You can't have all the back and forth.
no.
Okay.
Thank you,
That's
Steve.
what
Yes,
I'm concerned with.
I agree, but there again, I mean, if he can choose to do what you ask or what he wants to do, that's up to you. You wanna
Mr.
talk or
Vaughn,
you
I
wanna?
apologize, would you like to speak?
Sir? Not to speak. Okay. He chose not to, and that's perfect, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Now you can end it, as far as I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, thank you, motion is carried.